In my original review of Super Mario 3D World for the Wii U, I applauded Nintendo's efforts at forging an experimental mix of 2D and 3D Mario game design. In many ways, this Nintendo Switch re-release continues those ambitions, bringing back the 2D and 3D mix while further experimenting with the 3D World gameplay design in a Mario Odyssey-like setting. Now with more content, faster gameplay mechanics, and the ability to play on the go, Super Mario 3D World has never been as approachable or fun. Super Mario 3D World on Nintendo Switch is actually two games in one, the first part being the original base game and the second part being the new side adventure called Bowser's Fury. The base game story isn't all that riveting, with the main plot being Bowser kidnapping a group of magical fairies that the Mario Brothers and friends quickly go on a rescue mission for. It's reminiscent of most Super Mario stories of someone getting kidnapped by Bowser, and thus this game has to exist. What's more interesting, however, is the story in the new Bowser's Fury game. Now don't get me wrong, this is also a rescue mission story of sorts, but not a damsel in distress, but instead, rescuing a corrupted Bowser with the help of his son. Bowser has been overtaken by this black ink that sent him on a rage-induced rampage. A scared Bowser Jr. looks to Mario for a helping hand, enlisting him to collect the cat-themed Shine Sprites and rescue his father. Although it isn't a masterpiece of a narrative, from a Mario series perspective, it's arguably one of the more experimental stories, and I really like that. With this being two different games, I'll do my best to cover both separately as they're somewhat similar but also vastly different at other times. Starting with Super Mario 3D World, this was Nintendo's continuation of fusing 3D and 2D Mario that started with Super Mario 3D Land. Here we have the structure of 2D Mario games following a linear map and jumping into confined levels that task you with reaching the goal at the end of them. They're simple but fun bite-sized experiences that worked well in a handheld environment. On the Wii U, that translated over well with the ability to play with up to 4 players at once. Sure, it was chaotic, but it was the best multiplayer mainline Mario game thus far. That stays true with this Nintendo Switch re-release. With the newly added ability to play online with friends along with 2 built-in controllers on the default Switch, playing both locally or online, especially during the pandemic, has never been easier nor surprisingly this stable. A new online mode isn't where the changes stop for the Switch release though. Probably one of the most interesting changes is the speed increase in movement mechanics. Although the original Super Mario 3D World was never slow in general, its walking speed was, and thus the game featured a dedicated running button. On Nintendo Switch you can still walk or run, but both are significantly faster now. I'm happy to say this doesn't mess with the mechanics of platforming all that much when it comes to difficulty, but it certainly makes the platforming feel snappier and precise. In practice, the upgrade is a lot of fun and it shines marvelously through Nintendo's increasingly varied level design. What helped make the original Super Mario 3D World stand out so much was how often Nintendo chose to switch up level mechanics to better showcase new power-ups, platforming mechanics, and the individual attributes of each character. Some notable moments were running in the shadowy silhouettes of an underground cave, dashing on platforms that reacted to the music in the background, and a Mario Kart themed level. That's only scratching the surface of what 3D World has to offer, and I loved every minute of it. Now I mentioned each character having unique attributes. For example, Mario is the all-around character, but Luigi can jump higher, though at the cost of feeling somewhat slippery. These different attributes continued on with the rest of the characters that encouraged me to experiment with who I play as. With that said, in a multiplayer game that tallies up the scores, it's interesting to see how the different character qualities reflect on the scoreboard. There can certainly be some better balancing here, but I don't think the margin of competitive Super Mario 3D World will be all that much. Outside of these main levels are the Captain Toad levels. These are mini games of sorts that have you play as a jumpless Captain Toad, solving diorama puzzles. They're incredibly cute, charming, and all around fun, but some changes had to be made to be played on Switch. Like the Captain Toad Switch port, this version lets you use the gyroscope controls and a new pointer to interact with objects in dock mode when originally it required a touchscreen. As a workaround solution, it's great and it didn't hinder the quality of the original release at all. The real star of this entire package, however, is the newly added Bowser's Fury game. It's the aspect I was most excited for as someone that already owned and played through 3D World on the Wii U. Bowser's Fury is a self-contained game and story that you can play right away from the 3D World main menu. Taking up about 3 hours, 6 if you really want to complete the whole thing, this side adventure takes all the mechanics and items of 3D World but puts them in a larger scale open world sandbox like Super Mario Odyssey. The fusion of the two gameplay varieties feels like a continuation of Nintendo's experimentation with the Mario games, and could hint at what's to come in the future for the series. Like Odyssey before, Bowser's Fury is a large-scale sandbox, but this one has been corrupted by the ink surrounding the main island. Around the perimeter is a gigantic Bowser that can increasingly get enraged over time. When the timer runs out, Bowser will spring into action, bringing with him a thunderstorm to disrupt your playtime. In these moments, you either have to collect a shine or become a gigantic Cat Mario and defeat Bowser to continue your playthrough. At first, I thought this was a phenomenal idea. It's like a giant kaiju fight, but with Mario characters, and honestly, Bowser has never looked so furious. I love the design of it all, but over time, it also started to feel more obstructive than fun. You see, the cycle repeats over and over until you complete the game, and after a while, the new excitement of these encounters runs dry. I think that's partially why this experience didn't need to be any longer in length. Outside of these abruptions, Mario and his partner Bowser Jr. team up to run across the sandbox, collecting shines and increasing the perimeter around the island. As the black ink fades away, new islands are uncovered and your virtual playground further increases in scale. The level design here is equally remarkable as it is in 3D World, though the occasional filler content is felt. With that said, one thing I must applaud about this game design is the new power-up bank feature. As you collect coins, you'll earn randomized power-ups that you can use and store at any point during Bowser's Fury. It's reminiscent of the power-up storage in modern 2D Mario games, only much more accessible. When I first played Super Mario 3D World, I was a bit caught off guard by the art direction. It was an evolved look based on Super Mario 3D Land with a shinier, almost glossy looking Mario. It took a bit to get used to, but it started to grow on me and it continues to do so with this release. Super Mario 3D World looks beautiful on Nintendo Switch. In dock mode you can expect a dynamic resolution between 1080p and 720p, running at 60 frames per second. For the most part, the game hovers on the higher end of 1080p, while maintaining a perfectly locked 60 frames per second, a major upgrade from the 720p 60 on the Wii U. In portable mode, the game runs at 720p 60, essentially perfectly recreating the Wii U experience, but now fully portable. As a confined experience, Super Mario 3D World is fantastic on Switch. Performance is great, and seeing all the colorful and vibrant 2D art again was a real treat. It's only when the visual ambitions start to grow with Bowser's Fury that the Switch tech starts to show its age. While 3D World runs great, Bowser's Fury somewhat struggles. Bowser's Fury runs at a dynamic resolution that tends to hover between 720p and 800p in dock mode, with a performance of 60 frames per second that is usually locked. In handheld mode, things are significantly held back though, with resolution running at 720p but now at a 30 frames per second lock. The divide in resolution is apparent and continuously made me solely want to play in dock mode over handheld mode. Super Mario 3D World soundtrack was and continues to be a major standout for the series. From the level tracks to the overworld map and even the power-up minigames, just about every song featured exudes a charm that can only be found from Nintendo's years of intricate game design and polish. The little sound design touches like the crinkle of leaves as Mario runs on a fall-themed background or the sound of metal clashing as I flip a switch help make the shiny, vibrant world feel all more immersive. Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury is by far the best way to play this somewhat forgotten mainline Mario game. By itself, this port of 3D World not only brings the original game to a portable, but further improves the performance and refines the mechanics with a speedier movement across the board. The consistently evolving level design, along with the new online multiplayer, makes for one entertaining time whether playing alone or with friends. Bowser's Fury is a solid experiment with the base game that entertains the idea of the Mario series going a bit more open world, and while it's not a flawless execution, the idea is exciting and with further refinement can be a great new direction for the Mario series. With plenty of new and old players, Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury makes a compelling case to not just give this game a try, but to give it a revisit even if you played this on Wii U already. Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, then make sure you hit that like button and maybe subscribe for more videos just like it. If you're a fan of the channel, I recommend checking out the Discord server link in the description. It's a place for me and viewers like yourself just play games and talk about whatever interests us in video games. It's a welcoming and increasingly growing community and I'd love to see you be a part of it. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you all in the next one.